Welcome to MineWarp, the podcast where we discuss the confluence of all things mining and all things technology. Our purpose is to introduce you to the latest and most transformative ideas in the sector, and we'll give you an opportunity to get to know some of the trendsetters. My name is Empie Strydom, and together with Jean Roux, we are your podcast hosts. And today, we really have an interesting subject and a very interesting guest with us. I'll introduce you to him in a minute. We're going to be talking about artificial intelligence and its application in industry in general, and then in mining specifically with our guest. Just before I dive in, I can imagine that as I mentioned the term artificial intelligence, many of you might find your hair raising. If you like Elon Musk, he said, he's the Tesla and SpaceX CEO. He's claimed that artificial intelligence will be vastly smarter than any human would be and overtake us by 2025. That is just around the corner. And he also said that AI may be our biggest existential threat. Stephen Hawking, he was a major voice in the debate about how humanity can benefit from artificial intelligence. Of course, he benefited personally with his voice synthesizer as well. And he made no secret of his fears that thinking machines could one day take charge. He went as far as predicting that the future developments in AI could spell the end of the human race. And Bill Gates, who needs no introduction of, he said AI is like nuclear energy. It's both promising and dangerous. So the world, he said, hasn't had that many technologies that are both promising and dangerous, and we had nuclear energy and nuclear weapons. He said this at the 2019 Human-Centered Artificial Intelligence Symposium at Stanford University. While it's probably a while before we will reach the AI singularity, where AI-based intelligence reaches its own goals and purposes, and will be better at developing more AI than what we as humans are, the fact is we're moving in that direction. And so we'd love to talk about that. So we're going to discuss today whether there's any putting the genie back in the bottle or whether it's escaped at all. But just before you think I'm going to be the only one that's talking, I've got a very interesting guest with me today. Sinisa Vukovic is our resident, although not so resident here in South Africa, where I'm talking from, AI specialist and an academic and a thinker and a very nice person to boot. So I'd like to introduce you quickly then to Sinisa. And I've actually asked him to jump in by telling us a little bit about his personal background, and then we can look at more at academic and academia and all of that. So Sinisa, welcome to the MineWarp podcast. It's great to have you.
Oh, glad to be here. So,
yeah,
whenever these big thinkers are a little wary of AI, that's because when you train AI, there's an internal bias, and something about me might give you the bias I give when I talk about AI. So it's actually not bad to introduce. Yeah. So my name is Sinisa Vukovic. Right now I come from Toronto. I live in Toronto. I'm Canadian. But 20 years ago, I came from a country that doesn't exist anymore. It was called Yugoslavia. We had a horrible war there, and then after that, I immigrated. Back there, I studied medicine. I studied mechanical engineering, and then got interrupted. Came to Canada. I ended up graduating in some nice institutions. I met some people. I met my wife there. She turns out to be from Kenya, so I do have a relationship with South Africa and Africa. I am not a resident, but I did spend time, and I want to spend more time in Johannesburg. It's a beautiful place.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I really grew up in a city. It's called Zenica, right in the middle of countries today called Bosnia and Herzegovina. And it's a mining city. And it's been a mining city for 4,000 years before the Romans ever came there. And we've been mining ever since, mining even today. The city is like there are caves underneath the city all the time. Right downtown is a shaft. I literally been in front of the mine before I've been in front of the kindergarten.
And of course, growing up in such a town, mining does kind of seep into your blood, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. Actually, the most it seeps in your lungs, because we have iron and steel works and all that suit going around and lead. And they said that the lead was specific in a sense that would give a little bit of aggressiveness. So there are a lot of really good athletes back home. Yeah.
Well, it's a good thing then that we're talking over Microsoft Teams here. So so if you get aggressive, you're not close.
Well, no, like you're one of the big sports in South Africa is rugby, and the city where I come from is famous for rugby. We were the best team. We would win like 9 seasons in a row, champions.
Wow, that's excellent.
And those are mostly miners working there. People from the steelworks and ironworks. They're just
and they just enjoy beating people up. That's why they're good at rugby.
Rugby is a gentleman's sport. Don't forget that.
Sinisa, you alluded to the fact that you started off in the medical or with medical studies and in engineering and so on. But you've got quite a stellar academic background. But not only were you a student, but you also worked in academia, didn't you?
Yeah. Yes, I secretly am a really academic. As I said, a little bit of skill, a little bit of will, and a lot of luck that you come up with mentors who will not be afraid of some naive behavior, some naive thinking. And then you realize this is exactly why they bring you to hear these utopian ideas that you had to change the world and do better, things like that. And they're not laughing at you. I ended up at Canadian's really nice school, University of Toronto, which was really nice because you could do so many things, and I learned a lot there. And from there, professor literally told me what to do, where to go, and I picked to go to Italy. And I spent 2 years in Pisa, in Tuscany, in their school, one of their best schools. And there I learned how to work a little bit differently, the way Italians work. That place where it works is how everybody should work. It's really proper way of balancing life and creativity at work. I like that. And I wish I could stay, but they have enough of their own scientists, so they didn't need me. I looked for something else, and something else. I got really lucky. You wouldn't believe it, why they accepted me, but I ended up being at University of California, Berkeley, and that was mind-boggling. That was life-changing experience, both for me and my wife. When we went there, that was just amazing. The level of performance and how I treated science, how I treated thinking, how I treated being around people who can do something. Yeah, so when we arrived to University of California, Berkeley, that was life transformative, really, because to a scientist, it was really like a Disneyland. You could do whatever you want, and there were people to help you with that. I really liked that, and the reason I liked it and I wanted to do something is because the first week I arrived, somebody called me on the phone in my office and says, "This is Sinisa." Yeah, this is Sinisa. We are from the Hill. The Hill means the Lawrence Berkeley National Lab. That's where the real scientists are. And they call from there, said, "We are from Supercomputing Center. If you need something, please tell us. We'll do for you." I'm like, "What can you do for me?" It doesn't matter. Like they just treated you like you're here. We're gonna help you try to invent something. And of course, I'm gonna invent something when you behave like that. And it was even going around the city, they were like that. And
but by this time, you were postdoctorate already, right?
Yes, I was postdoctor. As soon as I left Toronto, now Italy, I'm going as a postdoc, coming to California as a postdoc. I went to Berkeley because they had a proper supercomputing machine. And one of the first things I did, I wanted to see how long does it take to send now we're talking 12 years ago, how long it takes to send a message to 50,000 CPUs and get it back. It takes like 5 microseconds. And like, this is when you think of this was 12 years ago, but this technology will never come to a common people. And you realize, okay, I'm in national lab. This is what the United States built, like Max Planck in Germany. And all they want with these labs is to invent something and it has to be valuable. This is what they did. And I remember that time, Bill Gates came to the campus and he gave a talk. And to all these scientists, all these Nobel laureates, he said, "You're working on the wrong problems." He wanted to say, there's so many PhDs here, do something with it. Work on problems that matter. Yeah. And not all of us work with it. And National Lab is exactly just to do that. What matters? Those are the problems. Work on them. And that kind of set me for the future. Okay, you have this responsibility. You can invent something. So go invent something. Our next step in that was the biggest supercomputer in the world. There was Titan. Well, it was Jaguar at that time. And now Titan That was in Oak Ridge National Lab in Tennessee, and that was probably the nicest place I've ever been. The biggest computer I ever worked with, and that was really something. You could do simulations that you could not imagine. You have access to 100,000 CPUs. Yes,
Wow.
you have to write emails to get access to it, all these things, but eventually you'll give it. You'll give it to you. It was amazing, and that was one of the nicest places to live. We worked there on, of course, it's a nuclear facility, so we worked on uranium, and we picked up, if there is a new way of mining in the future, this might be one of them. So mining from the sea directly, and developed a piece of plastic that you can put in a sea, pull out after a few days, and turn out to be pure uranium. So you don't have to clean it up; it's just right there. And
Incredible.
yeah, that was it. And then after that, the call came to go to England, and by that time I really wanted to start a career. Postdoc is not a career. Scientist in a research lab on a contract is not a career. But a Cavendish came, and Cavendish called, and like, you don't say no to Cavendish in Cambridge. So we had to go, and that was again even better Disneyland, because they put you in Cavendish lab and they say we have 31 Nobel laureates. Try to do something. Like, what can I do?
Try to be useful.
Yeah. And then they say, now, okay, you have a joint position with Molecular Foundry at the Cancer Center, and we have 34 Nobel laureates. Please invent something for us. Like, wow. That was 2 years of pure joy. It was really something. And then you start thinking, first you learn, then you earn. You lose L, right?
Yeah.
How do I do it? And you talk to some people, and they say, okay, work with some business people, and Deloitte was right there in front of the train station. So I saw it. Okay, let's work for Deloitte. And at that time, they started AI. So they were not very nice, but they were very competent people who were talking to me. They were borderline arrogant, but because they knew what they're talking about, you're not repulsed. So I said, okay, let's do this. And then we go there and we make a big team. And that was really good for 3 years. We really did good stuff. And now AI, I meet a lot of clients. You figure out, what does the industry want? At that time, I met people from MineWarp. I saw the platform. I saw what they were doing. I thought I could do this. I could get involved. Plus, I'm going back to mining. Plus, I'm a chemist. I still do the chemistry, and I liked it. So I ended up in MineWarp. And then when they called me to spend some time in Johannesburg, I'm staying in MineWarp. It was really nice. Yeah.
Well, we're privileged to have you. So we're learning a lot from you when it comes to thinking about artificial intelligence, machine learning, all these kinds of interesting terms being bandied about these days. And a few years ago, people thought that BI or descriptive analytics was interesting, and then people started talking a little bit about predictive analytics, and slowly but surely we're moving into prescriptive analytics, and then people are talking about cognitive solutions, and all of these terms are being thrown around. And in the world of AI, from what I understand, there's a bit of a divide between specific AI solutions and the kind of holy grail of general AI, the artificial general intelligence, which is maybe the stuff that you see in movies where you've got artificial agents acting. That's not immediately where we want to go to when we come to the application of AI in business. Am I right?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. I learned it from the previous bosses: crawl, walk, run. So at the moment, we are really crawling. In order not to start exaggerating, doing some science fiction, yes, when Elon Musk and Stephen Hawking are talking about a threat, they're looking way, way ahead of what could possibly be. Yeah, they're not unrealistic, definitely a threat, but we can be realistic about it. It's not AI, it's us. It's not the fire, it's not nuclear energy, it's us. How do we do that? So we have enough normal people, moderate people, we should be fine. Well, bottom line, we should be fine without AI as well. Like, never forget that part. If AI never comes in, never helps us, we're good. We're going to figure something else out. If electrical cars don't show up, that's okay. We'll do something else. We lose the cars. Okay, we'll walk. There's always that option. But just stressing, what about? Yeah, nothing will happen. We'll be fine. Don't worry. We'll find a way. So to say it's going to solve our problems, not now, not even close. But there are certain concepts to know. So when we say not even close, so you don't overestimate or underestimate what does it mean? So the concepts are typical that analysts and statisticians and ML engineers are using. It's ADS and EKG. So ADS, analytical data set. This is a data that you prepare, and you use that data to prepare another data set, which is called EKG, Enterprise Knowledge Graph. And why would you want that? Because machine learning or AI cannot do without this data. It needs data. The data needs to be clean. And right now, we don't have clean data. Right now, everybody's spending time, most of the time, we're not talking about 50%, 80, 90% of their time preparing the data so these machine learning techniques can be used. So
and now you're referring across industry, and this is why the big platform companies, the Googles, the Amazons, et cetera, offer so many free products because it's really about the data, isn't it?
It's right now we're at a stage just data is not clean. So such a trivial thing as cleaning data is a serious problem. So once you clean it, now we go step into it. And what these sets, that ADS and EKG, have really advantage once you have it, because you can set up algorithms that look at these data sets and automatically try to generate things. And what can they generate? Well, they can pick columns. They can pick data and say, if I divide this one by this one, then I get something. Well, if this is input and output columns and you divide them, you get the yield. Oh, there's some meaning, there's some physics, there's some KPIs out of this. So equations become interpretable for business as well, and some risk and some strategy, and then you start making a connection. But before ADS, before AKG, you don't do anything. Yeah.
And it's interesting, you introduced us to the terms of something being interesting versus something being valuable. So what you're saying is, if we've got this infinite or almost infinite computing capabilities, we can calculate many interesting results. But we don't. But we, at this moment at least, we really need the human to look at it and whether or not this is valuable for the specific application, say in mining, like where we are playing, and how to apply it in a valuable way, right?
That's correct. So what you see right now with AI, with machine learning, which is just basically a regression, all different ways of doing regression, meaning that I have a lot of points, I throw a line through it, different kind of lines. It doesn't have to be straight. When it does all these things, it doesn't do anything sophisticated. It doesn't go do anything crazy. Just so simple. But interpretation of it has consequences. But if it decides on its own, at best you can call it interesting because it's useless. The column has a meaning in reality or not. So it divides them and gets some number out of it. So any numbers can be used, and it can say, okay, now you need 10 people to do this. And you're looking, I cannot put 3 people in this room, then why are you suggesting 10? It doesn't have any problem predicting these things, doesn't have any problem saying these things, because it doesn't see the difference between valuable and interesting. And a computer scientist has to go in and make all these rules. And a computer scientist never stepped into the mind. So you have this disconnect. So there's always this in between interesting and valuable. And if you're a national lab in the United States and you show something interesting, they tell you it's interesting, they're basically insulting you because it's not valuable. Otherwise you say, oh, this is useful. It's not. You're saying it's interesting. So in that sense, a lot of engineers are producing interesting results, and then a lot of businesses are starting like that, and they're trying to tell clients, oh, this is good for you. Well, not there. But AI definitely what it's doing right now is producing a lot of interesting results, and people are trying to make them valuable. And the problem in that is that the AI is childish. It's not stupid. Childish is a good thing because it can grow, and it will grow. It will grow very fast. It will grow to a point that we are not going to be able to appreciate it, and it will grow like that from two sides. It will grow as a brute force. It will do this by brute force because we have computers, and we'll do it by being smart, doing some smart decisions. And being brute force is not a bad thing. If you look at any expert, how do they make decisions? Well, they know a lot of things. So in their head, they go very quickly and they eliminate things and stay with 2-3 options at the end, do that. But the brain is much bigger than any supercomputer in the world. And it doesn't look like that. But to an expert, every time you do this, all this knowledge that you have, the brain in the subconscious goes through all these options and it just gives you a few at the end. It's the same approach with AI. It looks like brute force is not a good way to go. But if you can, why not do it? Might not be the most important, but it's practical. And combining smart and brute force, which is definitely coming, is going to be so good that we won't be able to appreciate the value of it, and then we're going to blur the stuff in between interesting and valuable.
Maybe before we get to some specifics, something we discussed in a pre-discussion was, is it valid to say, in your opinion, do you see the big sword hanging over mining's head, that the moment that we've got machines that are able to think for themselves and maybe create mine plans and create execution schedules and in some cases even do the execution, are we going to lose thousands and thousands of jobs?
No.
Or are the skills going to move, or what's going to happen?
No, none of that will happen. No, it's you don't need to see mining. You can look at other industries where they do this thing, where they introduce digitalization. What ends up, people just do more work, and people have 8 hours a day. And if there's more work, you need to be more efficient, doing more things. Then you just need more people. Email came in and said, okay, how's this going to change? Well, you're just doing way more communication now, but you're still 8 hours of work. And then there's so much work. We need more people to write emails. Same thing here.
And yet, I mean, it's not as if we can't say that, for example, industrial revolution didn't cause a lot of disruption and impact in blue-collar workers. So it's expected that AI will impact white-collar workers maybe the same as industrialization impacted blue-collar workers, or am I wrong?
No, you're right. I would like to see that. When you say artificial intelligence, you're literally saying, I would like to replace white-collar workers. It's not happening right now. It seems to be all targeted towards the blue-collar workers, but that's because the businesses are targeting the owners of the companies. The moment that switches and you realize, oh, I need to be like Netflix, I need to be like Uber. Who's my client? My client is the person. So when it's the person, then we'll be a little bit different and say, okay, I want to help you. The ultimate AI model will be, oh, here's an app. I'm going to be your CEO. I'm going to be a COO. I'm going to be C-suite for you. So I'll make decisions for you. You want to be a carpenter? Be a carpenter. Do your carpentering if that's what you like. You don't need to know any of this management stuff. Those are formulas anyway. You just put them in there. I'll do the managing for you. And I'll talk to another manager app for you. So that's ultimately where AI will go. But there isn't a client for that. So nobody's developing. Current client is the owner of the company who says, how do I make more money? And the AI that's coming now is how to do that in terms of replacing people, because people cost the most. But that's not going to go very far. At the end, the middle manager and the top are the ones where intelligence is, and AI will affect those more than those on the bottom. And when it affects those on the bottom, that's fine. They will find other jobs. It's not like there won't be jobs. The AI will provide you not leisurely time. Will provide you to do something that you're more humanly capable and better than the machine.
Yeah, and so there are things. I read an interesting study by Harvard Business Review. They looked at 1,500 companies which they researched, and the topic was collaborative intelligence, as opposed to cognitive intelligence and so on, and where humans and AI work together. They said the best results were found where humans and AI actively enhance each other's complementary strengths. And so there are things that computers are better at than humans, and humans are better at than computers. And not only now, but intrinsically so, right?
Yes. So I think you're pushing me to say this, and I will say it. So right now, combination of human intelligence and artificial intelligence is the best solution and ultimately gives the best answer. But if you look at the gaming industry, where the system is closed, the number of scenarios is finite, large, but finite, human cannot compete with AI. AI is better. So we had to concede there. Right now, in systems where not all the scenarios are possible, so our creativity, our experience is still relevant, the combination is the best. But as Tesla said, the car company said, well, yeah, I'm just going to drive 1,000,000 hours and figure out all the scenarios, and therefore my AI will learn all the possible scenarios. At that moment, AI is a better driver than a human. You can envision that eventually, whatever we do, this might be kind of disillusioning. Whatever we do, AI will learn all the rules, all the scenarios, and will be better than us.
Well, we'll see if it can tell some good jokes or know how to put its arm around someone that's really having a bad time at work and things like that. That'll be interesting.
I hope it's just interesting, but he will be able to do it. It's not, yeah.
Interesting as opposed to valuable.
Yeah,
Sinisha,
because,
I'm looking at the time and
No
we're
problem.
running out of time, but we haven't said everything that we wanted to say. So I'm going to actually invite you back for a next round as well,
okay. All right.
if that's fine with you.
Okay.
Just before we go in, I think in our next session, we're going to have a look at some of the specific applications of AI in mining. You know, maybe the next evolution of automation. How does AI play a role in there? So as opposed to making a self-driving vehicle, how do I make a vehicle that decides itself where to drive? Etc. Maybe a little bit about that and things like, you know, this human-assisted machine versus machine-assisted human, a combination, edge-based decision-making, swarm theory. I know that we've talked about this. I'd love to maybe have a next session, if that's okay, and talk to you about that.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
Just before we run, we've learned to, we've gotten to know you a little bit. We always end up on this question. What's on your bedside table? What are you reading at the moment? I almost said that's interesting, but I don't want to insult you.
I never read one book. I read, this came from the school. I open biology book, and then I have chemistry, math, and physics around me. There's always 6, 7 books open at the same time, and the speed of reading is in the book. So I have quite a few books, and they're mostly about energy management, and they're mostly chemistry books. I enjoyed nonfiction. There are some books that are fiction, and that's the one that's beside my bed, and it's Bridge on Drina. Drina is a river, and that's by Ivo Andrić. He's a writer from back home, and 1960 he got a Nobel Prize for this particular book, and it's a historical book about Ottoman Empire on Balkans and how deal with this and what's going on. And he's a quite interesting person in its own right. Yeah. And he's one of the group of people who was responsible for the start of the First World War, the killing of Franz Ferdinand in Sarajevo. Yeah, and then they used them to justify the beginning of the war. Everybody was ready anyway, but he was part of the group, and he ended up being a diplomat, all sorts of things. So his perspective is quite something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, talking about everyone being ready, I think we're all ready to learn a bit more. I'm going to say thank you and goodbye, and we'll catch up. We'll have a next episode next week.
Okay.
Fantastic.